Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Coaching Collective podcast. I'm Paul Blackford, one of your hosts, and this weekend we got to visit one of our favourite gyms in the southwest of WA, ArK Health and Fitness. ArK were facilitating a workshop run by Developmental Disabilities WA. Ed and I were fortunate that before the workshop we got to interview the owner of the gym, Chris Kessell. During the interview we asked Chris what coaching means to him, and Chris also shared with us some great insights into what you need to be for your clients. There's also some nuggets in this episode as Chris goes into his history and the evolution of ArK Health and Fitness. So definitely stay tuned for that. We've been trying to improve your listening experience as we release each episode of the podcast. During this one, we had some challenges with some of Chris's neighbours in an industrial setting. There was a lot of background noise. However, we've begun using Auphonic to try and clean up some of those extra noises. The episode still comes through a little bit tinny in parts. We apologise for that, but hopefully the overall quality is better than what you've been listening to up to now. Coaches, don't forget the Coaching Collective community is live. You'll find other coaches in the community just like you, chatting, learning, and sharing with each other. Joining the community is free. Find us on Instagram, click on the link in the bio to go to the sign up page. We've also posted a link in the bottom of this video. Click to join. And now without further ado, let's get on to that interview with Chris.
Hey team, welcome back to another episode of the TCC podcast. I'm your host, Ed Hamilton, along with my co-host, Paul Blackford. And today we have a special guest, our first guest. Sort of feeling like we're legitimizing the podcast a little bit now that actually we have now we have to have our first guest on. So we are joined today by Chris Kessell, or CK, out here at his gym at ArK Fitness in Australind in the southwest. And you know, as for our podcast, we're going to be talking about all things coaching. Get to know him a little bit more, get to know a little bit more about the journey that he's been on with ArK. And yeah, and then just kind of dive into whatever kind of pops up from those conversations. But
welcome, Chris.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you. The first thing I want to kind of get into is as what we are working through and working on with TCC is really about the coaching side of things. So yes, Chris is a business owner. Yes, he's been super successful and just we were admiring before seeing him start and watching the growth of the space, and even getting to, you know, come and play around here a little bit at ArK. It's been really awesome to see the growth of that community. But today is going to be, you know, we'll dabble on that, but today's going to be about your coaching journey. I want to hear a little bit more around the space that we're working in regarding like, yeah, what's that journey been like for you? Where does your passion still lie within that? What is your goals, intentions in terms of regarding for coaching? And then go from there. So I guess the first question and the question that we asked ourselves a couple of episodes ago is like, what does coaching mean to you? What is coaching as the craft? So like we said, not as the business owner of a gym, but the actual hands-on working with, getting the opportunity to work with people. What does that mean for you?
I kind of look at coaching as a coach's role is just to be whatever is required then to be fine, to be successful. So in the context of, say, a strength and conditioning coach, your job is to make your client fitter and stronger and more capable of performing in their sport. If you're a nutrition coach, your job is to make sure that the food is dialed in, their pre and post workout is all up to scratch. If you're a mindset coach, your job is to fix what's between the ears so they can do better. So the role of a coach to me is just like identifying what your client needs and then finding a way to fulfill that need for them.
Do you feel in that you can do all of those things as a coach, or do you feel, as kind of like we've been talking about recently, there's a need to be in a scope within those?
I think it's important to have a scope in terms of knowing what you don't know. Yeah, understand what you know.
Yeah.
Like I know you said a couple of times ago, you had a client ask you about nutrition. You're like, bro, not the right person to talk to about this. I think it's important to understand where that limit is for you. Yeah, I'm much the same on nutrition. We have a nutrition coach here, so I will handball that straight off.
Yeah.
But I think it is important to know it's not to be scared of. I don't know, so I'm going to
Yeah. I think that's important. I think it's probably off the back of some of the stuff that we've spoken about, like niching down. I guess niching down, and as we've said before, like, how high level can you go with solving those problems? So like, again, like if we're going to space out like strength and conditioning coach, nutrition, mindset coach, whatever that may be, like in my head, it's like the better you can be at one, the more you can solve a problem that maybe someone else hasn't been able to, or you can have it high level.
Yeah.
But again, we've said not like it's a generalist, but like I think that's a really good point. Like not shying away from going and searching to see if you can help that solve that problem. And whether that may be, like you said, we have access to a nutrition coach. I'm going to go and ask her.
Yeah.
And it's like bouncing things back and forth from that.
I think what you just said about sort of not necessarily being a generalist, I think being a generalist isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
If it means that you're not forcing yourself into something that isn't really for you. Like I know you guys have both spoken about sort of having your niche, like you work on solving high level problems and you've got the whole like bulletproof over 40. Fuck, you look good for 40, by the way. Like for me, I still haven't found that thing. So I've been coaching for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
And I still love doing a bit of everything. So I'll quite happily, like I love running group classes. I love coaching weightlifting. I've been doing a lot of work with like teenage athletes recently, trying to help them sort of develop coordination and strength. And I love all those things. And it's not really something that I'm choosing to specialize in, but those are the sort of things that I like doing. So at this point, I'm not handcuffing myself to one specific area, which means that I need to be willing to learn a whole bunch of new things when people come along. And I think part of that comes from being in new business. Like I've kind of been forced into that situation where if we get inquiries from people about personal training, like I don't have a huge team of personal trainers on site. I need to be able to handle all sorts of different inquiries that come in. And if it's somebody that has an issue or has a problem that I haven't worked with before, I don't have anyone I can handle that to necessarily. I need to go out and learn. So it's been good for me from like an education point of view. But it would be nice to be able to be like, hey, we have the person for that. This is your person. So that's what we're moving towards.
I think just as you touched on it, like talking about, I've been in the industry 8 years. Again, this podcast being about coaching, like just give us a little bit now, like diving into the background of those 8 years. So being still in that scope, as you said, of like more of a generalist, and we said that in our podcast. We're like, as you get into the industry, you're going to want to, find something that's you niche down. But again, 8 years in, I'm 10 years in, you're 7 years in, like, and all those journeys have been different. So like, I want to hear that from a perspective that we haven't talked about. Like, hey, I've been in the industry for a long time. I'm still very keen on like the generalist approach. Like, just give us a background into like, okay, where did you start? What did you do to go and get into it? And then like from years 1 to 8, like what's that kind of look like?
So I started from CrossFit perspective, was a CrossFit athlete at CrossFit Bunbury. Started coaching there in 2016 after the owner sort of said, you should go do this coaching course. Not with the intention of becoming a coach, but as like it would give you a better understanding of like the exercise methodology. I had sort of performance-based goals at the time and I figured it would help with those. So that was the start of 2016. About 6 months later, I filled in for a couple of classes when somebody was sick and it just kind of snowballed from there. So I think I coached pretty much, I think I was coached about 8 or 10 hours a week for about 2.5 years. Inevitably ended up leaving that gym and kind of lost love of fitness for a little while there. So there was a kind of 8-month window where like I was coming down to see you guys every so often. I was driving down from Australind to Vass, which is 45 minutes or so each way, just because it was a gym that I could just go and work out a little bit in. And it was actually you that got me back into it. I don't know if you remember this, but you were running an Olympic lifting series for your coaches. And I just happened to be down there one time and I said, like, if you're ever doing this again, like hit me up because I'd be keen to come down and lift. And 3 weeks later, you called me and went, hey, going again. We get back into it. And that was, after about 8 months of very irregular exercise, that was the first thing that got me back into a routine. Awesome. Got me back into that gym setting and made me go, actually, this is what I wanted to do.
Space I want to be in,
But then the issue was there wasn't really anything in this area that fit what I wanted and fit like how I wanted to do things. So I'm just going to have to open my own space then. So that was at the start of 2019. I started having those conversations with myself. Started planning. As it turns out, 2019 was not a good year to try and do anything in small business. So we had probably 6 or 8 months worth of delays through all things with the pandemic. It wasn't until the start of 2020 that we opened this place. We opened with a team of 3. Now grown that to a team of 8 after 3.5 years. And so it's just been like every time we kind of got to the point where something needed to change in the gym, we made that expansion or we made that change. So, we started with very minimal equipment and a very small space. I think we had about 180 square meters worth of actual usable space to start off with.
Yeah.
And it was every time, we got to the point where we needed to get better, we needed to get bigger, we had to kind of find a way to make it happen. And that not just from the space point of view, but also from our members are getting fitter, they're getting stronger, they need to learn more, like what else can we teach them? And that kind of forced us to expand our knowledge of, programming and of how do we coach these athletes to get from where we thought they'd be to they're all advanced past that, to how do we now take them that little bit further. So training people who, in a CrossFit setting, most of your class are people who have been doing it for a little while, and then occasionally you get a couple of new people. And when we first opened the gym, it was like 90% fresh. Yeah. And they didn't know anything. I was like, it's probably the most challenging time I've had as a coach was that first sort of 6 months. But it probably was the most productive for me from a coaching point of view because it made me learn.
It's always that. I was going to ask about your team growth and whether the comments earlier about being a generalist and having to take on like a variety or like a wide breadth of knowledge and not necessarily getting like deep into any one particular part, and you enjoy that. And I completely understand. It's definitely getting into CrossFit that was one of the attractive attributes for me, was like that breadth. In growing your team, have you had to be thinking about trying to get team members who are a little bit more dialed in on each of the areas so that you then have the capacity to go, all right, I know me as a coach, I'm this, I'm not that, but that coach is, and I can get there.
It hasn't been a point of like, I'm trying to recruit someone to work on nutrition. I'm trying to recruit someone to work on, like dealing with clients who are wanting to get out of pain. But it's more sort of as opportunities are coming up, who do I know on my team that has like worked with a client like this before and had success with a client like this before, and almost sort of steering them in that direction of like, you seem to really enjoy this. You seem to really like get good results. Tapping their passion. So one of my coaches, Jenna, who you both know very well, she's been a client of yours for quite some time and is one of those like higher problem kind of, she's had lower back pain for years and years. As a result of all the work she's done with you, she's now really taking an interest in like, how do I take this knowledge and use it to help other people? And so that gives me a pipeline of like, well, anytime I get an inquiry from someone who, hey, I've had chronic lower back pain and my doctor says I need to get stronger, how do I go about that? That's an inquiry I can now just kind of put in front of Jen and go, this is yours, go.
Well, that's exactly what I meant. That's good in that, it's almost a no-brainer. You've got that person you trust. That they're in the space through their experiences and how they've gone about learning their own things. And you've got a place to go for that problem that's not necessarily you would definitely have knowledge in and around it, but not necessarily to the depth of that other coach.
Exactly, yeah. And for me, it's like being the owner and being the head coach, people are always looking to you for the answers. And I just love the idea of having someone that technically works for me who I can go, hey, like I get the answers off them, or they can teach me things. Not to say that I know more than my coaches or know more than anyone else, but I find generally, even if somebody does know what they're talking about, there's always that level of like, they want to confirm it, they want to double check it. And it's like, I just want these guys to like, I want to be able to stand back and be like, shit, I didn't know that. Like, that's a really good way of teaching that and kind of pick up what they're putting down.
Surround yourself with people smarter than you.
Pretty much. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, true that.
I really like that. Like, it's kind of similar to the way in the environment that we had at the moment in regards to like, you're so open to your guys just going and like learn.
Yeah.
Just go and continually learn, because that's going to be where the magic happens. And then from that, like you said, you may come like, I love all the things and I want to like help in that. Or you get the benefit of like, knuckling down again. Now I've got Jen who's like equipping herself and knowing like her direction and what she wants to. And that's just as big of an attribute to the gym and for you and for ArK, us to be like, cool, we can now like dive in and shoot people her way.
Yeah.
Because you're also, like we said, in terms of this being like around coaching, you also do take one-on-one clients. So, yeah. And so for you in that space, is it still more of that, like, and we kind of talked and dabbled about working with a little bit of the people in pay, but like, do you still do pretty generalist work in the individual space, or do you have more of a?
For the most part, yeah. I think it was Dr. Sean Pastuch that said that when you first start in this industry, you say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm still in that stage.
Yeah.
Like I don't turn anyone away.
Yeah.
There have been times where I'm like, this will be more suited to Fleur or to Jazz or something like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I kind of go, well, like if they want to try, I'm going to pay.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the inquiries we've been getting lately have come from like teenagers or parents of teenagers.
Yeah.
Where, like for example, I'm working with a kid at the moment who's, I can't say TJ, he's 11. And I've been tracking him for a couple of years now, and he's a state level like shot put distance thrower.
Yeah.
I don't know the first thing about shot put.
Yes.
Like, I have no idea about what the technique involved in that is, but I know how to make it stronger from core to extremity.
Yeah.
To use legs to generate power to then use that power for something else.
Yeah.
And so that's been a really good experience for me in terms of like, you know, a lot of what we learn in the CrossFit space, the weightlifting space is all sort of like sagittal plane, frontal plane stuff. There's no rotation work in there. Throwing is a rotational strength. So how do I train someone to develop rotational strength, which would then apply to anybody who, you know, plays cricket or baseball, softball, or any sort of sport that involves that like rapid hip rotation.
Yeah.
I can then implement into that. And I've, you know, sort of picked up, I've been working with kids from the Australian Swimming Club for a couple of years now. And they're all fit because they're swimmers. They do cardio 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But they've got no glute strength. They're all quads.
Yeah.
And so learning how, you know, what actual strength does a swimmer need? Like, yeah, it's a lot of core strength. It's a lot of lat strength. It's a lot of posterior chain for the kicking. And it's like, how do I make those things stronger without making them slower and
worse than the specific.
It's not just a case of, well, I can apply all the principles from our group fitness to these guys as well. Like it needs to be refinement that happens.
Yeah.
And so like, yes, I'm saying yes to everybody, but they're all kind of giving me a new skill set in a way as well. I don't train anyone who's just like, if somebody just wants to be generally fit, well, we put them in the class because it's better cost effective for them. And, it's like better use of my time as well.
Yeah.
So it's only when people have specific things they want to work on that we can put them in a one-on-one setting. And then it's like, well, if they are in a one-on-one setting, and generalist approach is not going to work for them.
Yeah. Just using the swim club as an example, because I think I know the answer to this question. We possibly have spoken about it before, but what came first, the chicken or the egg? Like, did you think for the business I need to find some clients that sort of fit this problem? Or, you know, was that a passion of yours that you were thinking, I'm going to go and find some athletes in any space to train? Or was there an opportunity because of proximity of that pool to the gym? How did that come about?
It was kind of a perfect storm for us.
Okay.
So it was just as we were doing the expansion, they were reaching out to us because the leisure center that they train at has a gym attached to it.
Yeah.
Working with a personal trainer who was moving back to Melbourne. And basically nobody else from the leisure center wanted to take them on.
Okay.
They're all the other PTs like, that's too hard. I don't know.
Okay.
So they were looking elsewhere. A couple of the parents who also, a couple of our members who train here, their kids train at this week. And so the details got passed along to me, and it was like, well, we're going to have this new space that's going to be separated into like a group fitness space and then like a personal training space at the back. This is a great opportunity to use it a couple of days. Like,
what was your driver? Was it business driven, or was it opportunity to learn driven?
It was a business driven decision. Yeah. But I also didn't shy away from the fact that I will have had to go there and set skills there.
Yeah. That's great that you like leaned into that, because that's hard. That's a hard thing to do. I mean, yes, from a business perspective, that's a hard thing to do. But like, doing new stuff is hard. And so, you know, you would have been sitting there going, oh, this is some responsibility and accountability that, you know, I haven't done this before, you know. Excitement, nervous, what did you feel?
Yes.
All of that.
And teenagers as well. Like teenagers are such a mixed bag.
Yeah.
That like they are a really good bunch of kids. And at first they were all very sort of shy. None of them done much with free weights. They'd sort of used kettlebells every now and then, but it was machine weights and stuff. And like now they come in and like, you know, the kids that have started off using the 4 and 5 kilo dumbbells, and I've got to strap to 9s and 10s because they trust themselves, they trust to how to move. And along the way, we sort of had some of the older kids. So it's only just sort of I think it's the 13 to 16-year-olds that we train.
Yeah.
And so some of the younger ones have kind of hit that age group, and the older ones have set the behavior expectations, so I don't have to do that. So they're not here to like do from that. They work hard. They are wrecked by the end of the session.
Yeah.
But I don't have to manage the behavior. They do that themselves. So it's been a really interesting experience for me, because we do run team classes and kids classes, and a lot of the time, after school kids can, it's a nice way of putting this, kids.
I got two.
Yeah, you get it. Yeah. And so having a group of kids that is, for the most part, very dedicated and want to work hard, and are now 2 years in and really seeing some great results from it. It's been really,
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
that's really satisfying.
Yeah. And so like that's because you mentioned that as one of the passions, I guess, or like train kids, or at least thinking about being a generalist, you were running through take classes, and I just one-on-one PT. I've got some athletic works. Has the passion grown from that?
Yeah, that's that.
Yeah, because would I be right in saying like the passion wasn't there first? That was an opportunity for business and to help, which you are a good guy and you want to help people. Yeah, coaches generally are. If they want to help people, so you take it on for those reasons, but then like you start to see that you're being successful with these crew, and just say that's becoming a passion.
I think it's a passion. I've found passion in success. So the first ever PT client I took was a lady in, I'm going to say mid-70s at the time. Her name was Lizzie. She was an absolute legend. She'd been a midwife for 40, 50 years, and was retired, and basically her life consisted of riding horses, riding her bike, walking her dogs, and going. And that was her existence. And she found as she was getting older, stuff was starting to slow down. And she came and saw me twice a week for, I think, about a year and a half that I was still there. And it started off as like we were getting her to sit on a bench and step back up. That was the full extent of her arrangement. It wasn't even to a full bench. We had it kind of propped up on plates. And over a year and a half, she went from that to being able to get down and off the ground. She'd gone from, stepping up onto a 1-inch plate to jumping onto a 4-inch plate. She went from being able to sort of deadlift 8 or 10 kilos to pick up a pair of 16 kilo kettlebells and walk around holding them. It was every sort of few months, I'd get a text message from her, a call from her. It was just like, I've just been in the garden for 5 hours and nothing hurts. And like her quality of life was just through the roof from all sides. And like, she was somebody who recognized that she was starting to slow down and kind of made a point of coming to see me. And the level of satisfaction I got out of training her was beyond anything I found in group sessions to that point. So fast forward to when we opened here, and one of the first PT clients I took on is actually now one of my coaches, because I feel like we did such a good job of fixing her. I know you don't like that phrase, but she had been in crippling back pain for a couple of years, was quite a high competitive CrossFit athlete, kind of broke herself in the process. And just never went about fixing it. So we took her right back to scratch. We started her from the beginning, and after 4 months, she was moving pain-free at loads that were equal to or greater than what she'd been doing when she hurt herself. So for me, that was a real message of like, okay, this isn't just like we're making people thinner and healthier, like we're changing lives here. And we have the capacity to do that, and therefore we have the responsibility to do that in the time we can. So when I say like that kind of, I get passion from success, is that like there's people who are coming to me because they need help. If I can help them, that's why I get out of bed every morning.
Yes, I love that.
The
Coach's mantra:
problem solving.
That's it. Problem solving. Why does it always? That's going to be. That's not it.
No, but it's cool. And I really want to like take a second there to get the reaction from all of us as like CK, and he was even smiling as he said it, right? It's like, and she's like able to do all these things, and all of us just like light up. Yeah, it's like, oh shit, and that's what this whole thing's about in regards to like, there's so many moving parts to what you've done and your background, your history, but it's still that thing right there where you're like, and I was able to help someone, and it's almost those things that are more special. Like this 70-year-old beautiful lady whose quality of life got way better from the simplicity of things we do in this space to give someone that quality of life. Like, you just get like goosebumps thinking about it, because you're like, that's the whole thing. That's like, for us, it's that, say gap, but like one of the things we want to achieve with TCC is that professionalizing that field of like, we are here to help people in a space where that person didn't know where to go before to receive that same income. It wasn't going to happen from like a clinical space. It wasn't going to happen from any sort of drug that she might have been on to reduce like pain levels or whatever. Like, it was on the hard work that you put in for like consistency and guidance from yourself and all the other great trainers that are out there. And I think it's more we can bring realization to that. Like, that's actually what this whole field is about, like problem solving, and not just small problems, like general health and fitness. I really like how, not in a negative way, but like encapsulating that. Like, if I have someone come in that doesn't have a super high value problem, I've got the facility to go, come and join our community, come and join our classes. You're going to get so much out of that still. And then all the way up to like all the high level things and everything in between. Like, having a facility like that, I just think it's awesome. It's just like everything we were talking about. So for you and the stuff that we're kind of working on with TCC, how do you feel like that fits in, or your thought process of like this, I want to say need, this, like things been tried and done before, like even with Dan coming today, like around like fitness professionals. And I know I would always see that you were pretty like in on that and commenting back. And how do you see the need for something that is like this, where it's like a networking space for coaches to be able to like bounce back and forth for each other? And it's a support network, like you said, as like coming back at the start, like I don't have all the answers. Do you feel like that is something that you're going to find hugely beneficial, or think that there's a need for that in the industry?
Yeah, absolutely. It's for a long time, I feel like this industry has been too competitive and competitive for the wrong reasons. Yeah. So, like obviously we want to keep our clients because they are how we pay our bills.
Yes.
They are the reason we are successful.
Yeah.
And I think there's a real genuine fear in this industry of like, well, if I send them to somebody else, so if I get a second opinion from somebody else, I'm going to lose them to them because I'm not the authority. And I don't know how founded that fear is. So for me, it's like, well, just because I have never seen this before, and just because I don't have the answer, doesn't mean no one else has. It doesn't mean no one else can help. So it helps having people like you who I can call on, who are an hour and 20 minutes away. So in an absolute pinch, I can get a client down to see you, but I'm also not worried about them making that a weekly. Some of them might, and if they do decide that that's what's best for them, then like I said at the start, my role as a coach is to do whatever's required for them. If what is required is sending them to somebody who is more capable of helping them than I am, but that's the right thing from the not got boost back to you.
Shit like that. It's just like you're generally in there for the right reason in regards to, like you said, caring for that person. And like, yeah, if the best thing for you is not to do this or whatever it is that we offer, or the knowledge that we have, and there's something that's actually going to fix the problem, it's like, go and do that. Yes, that's what I want for you. Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah.
Our passion for, it's all about passion today, okay? A lot of passion. Our passion for doing things to help people and to help out people. I think TCC started like the 2024 season started with a comment to Ed to say, we can do stuff better together, or something like that. I don't remember exactly, something like that. We can do stuff better together. And now if we take that core fundamental driver for being a coach and doing what we do for our people, like that's actually it. How do I make that better for that person? Because I'm not the everything. Sure, I know more than they do, but when you realize that you're out of scope, or you're out of ideas, or you're not the right fit, but you still want that person to be successful, it makes sense to have a community around you that,
that's a good point, like having a community, but like knowing the community. And like the point of the, the Discord channel and the communications and opening that stuff up and just the networking is so that when you get to know a wider community of people, like, you said, I've got my team and I know my team, and I know that I can send someone here for nutrition, and I can send someone there for this, or generalist, or this or that. It's like, the concept just being like expansion of that, right? Like, if we really, really reach out and expand that, like, we're going to get access to so many people that we wouldn't have, that are going to be such useful tools for sharing information, sharing knowledge, solving problems. Again, coming back to that, like, yeah, I think that's the cool thing. Like you were just saying there, Paul, like, you've got to know the community, though. And I feel like sometimes, like, not in a bad way, but when it's kind of like Q&A style, where it's like questioning the chat, what is everyone's thoughts on this? And then everyone gives an opinion, then it's not necessarily like, you almost, if you're in there, the goal being, if you're in that community for long enough, like being in a gym, like, you get familiar with people and kind of know people, and like knowing spaces and niches and stuff like that. And you can, even on online things, can kind of build out some relationships within that. And that would be, I guess, the general goal for us, is to like have that at least across the whole of the Southwest of the beginning, and then expanding as hopefully things grow. But like being able to reach out and just have like almost the amount of knowledge that there is even in WA, I'm assuming, for like the amount of coaches that we have, there's access to things and the ability to share that, like you said, I don't think we're tapping into based off this previous thing of like fear. And hopefully that can be hopefully we can be like a sounding board in that to kind of like break through into like, actually opening up about it. It's like, I want the best for my clients. And I guarantee if we sit down with another coach on a gym owner, they're going to say, I want the best thing for my community and my clients. Like, there's probably not going to be a person that we catch up with in that chair like, nah. Because then you're nodding like, you're going to know you're not in the mud industry. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that's really cool. And to having, again, coming almost summarizing a little bit, like watching yourself grow, knowing you for so long, and just seeing this place like build, and then getting an opportunity to be a part of that with TCC and getting ArK and the coaches here is to be something like going into something bigger. I just think it's been really cool to kind of see it the last few years. Yeah. Sorry, you go.
I think, like we're just saying, with someone here and they don't know how to help people. I don't think anyone starts off in this industry that way.
Yeah.
If you ask anyone who's just started as a personal trainer, it's like, I want to help people. I'm like, no one's getting into this for the money. Like, if you're a new person, don't do it for the money to start. You'll get there, but it takes a bit of time. But I think for a lot of people, somewhere along the way, it changes, and it becomes about, like, maybe there hasn't been as much success like professionally to them as they think. So they're getting really guarded and defended about what they've got. Whereas I think in this industry, we all win if some of us are winning more. So like, yeah. Like when I first opened this space, or before I even opened this space, I sat down with Shelby, the yellow boss owner, the boss lady. And
Shell boss.
Happy
birthday,
Happy birthday,
Happy
Shell
birthday,
boss.
yes. I couldn't believe how generous she was with, like, she sat me down and went, this is what we didn't work. This is what we did that did work. This is what I wish we did do. This is what I wish we did work. And it was just like, it was a blueprint on how to open a successful gym from scratch. And I remember saying to her, I was like, why are you being so honest? Like, you will be well within your right to be really guarded and take about this. And she said, you are trying to achieve exactly what we're trying to achieve. Like, if you are successful because we've helped you, then we are successful. And that conversation alone changed so much about my mindset towards coaching. Because now I'm in the same approach. I'm like, if, I've got members who, the CrossFit Open has been on recently, and we're obviously not a CrossFit gym here. So they've had to go to other affiliated gyms, and I'll be like, great, good luck. Like, I hope, like, tell me if you need anything. I'll be there to support you if you need me to. And, this idea that, like, I have no issue with my members going elsewhere to train, because, like, if they go there and they like it better, then great, that's the best important. And it also means there's something that I need to improve on, so that it doesn't keep happening. But this idea that, when one of us wins, we all win. We are still all trying to achieve the same thing. What we're doing here, what the rec center is doing, what Anytime Fitness is doing, what World Gym in Town is doing. We're all trying to make people fitter and stronger so they can live a better quality of life.
Yeah, that was the thing we said, like, eye-opening, getting back into like a little bit of world stuff. Not to touch on that, but getting back into a Globo gym and retouching on that point, and regards to like coming into that space as a little bit more of a veteran versus like a 16, 17-year-old in fear and no information. I literally walked around the first time, and you're more being like, everyone's just trying to get better. Literally everyone is trying to get better. And then on the back of the other stuff, you said to me, we were actually at Worlds, and it was kind of like the first time of seeing the coaching networking like rolling out. It's like what we kind of really envisioned for this. It's like we were working out a question came into the chat from Jess, and CK was on it with like it was a weightlifting question, and you just sent her like, this is what I would do, this is the programming, this is here's a template. And then I messaged you, just said, man, this is so cool to like potentially see how this could be. And then you just kind of messaged me back with this really cool thing to say like, pay it full. And I was like, that's such a cool, like, yeah. Cause like, I know from being in my time in the industry, but like, I'm just paying forward all the help that and we just kind of need to continually do that versus like you were saying, like getting that point where you just come up guarded. And it's like, you're almost now only being able to help a tiny amount of people, right? Versus like you pay it forward, you keep going. That's that whole meta impact that we kind of keep talking about, like that. If you're going to help more and more and more people, but more open and more willing you are to share, you're going to have just such a widespread impact on the whole thing.
And for me, it's important for me to recognize that I am where I am because I got legs up. I got a leg up from a lot of different people. And for me to then turn around and not offer that same leg up to other people just seems like such a dig move.
Yeah.
Like, I can't sit here and be like, well, you helped me, and Cal and Shelby helped me, and even some of the guys at CrossFit Bunbury were really instrumental in my growth as a coach.
Yeah.
How can I not offer that same support to that people?
Yeah, because you're not in it.
Yeah. I like to think so.
Generally speaking. We'll probably start wrapping it up here, but to close out, we kind of have those two questions as kind of one we said at the start. The second one, not to dive into them too much, but kind of give us like a little bit of a thought process to kind of think about. But the other conversation we had early on was these things I would talk about regarding like, networking, opening up, maybe not being as guarded, sharing information, like, and this could be out of the whole thing in the industry. Like, what's one thing in the fitness industry right now that you would like to see get better or change?
Just one thing.
One thing.
One thing.
I know you guys have touched on the education process, so I won't go into that, but I agree with pretty much everything you said in that, I think, first podcast episode. I guess just a better understanding of the fact that what you do in your gym isn't the only way of doing things. And just because you do it that way doesn't mean it's the right way. Like we'll often have conversations with people who come in and they've done a 45, they've done CrossFit, or they've done Les Mills classes, or they've been to the local 24/7 gym and kind of done their own efforts. So I'll tell her, like, there are some things we do here that will be different from what you understand. I'm not saying they're better. I'm not saying they're that the way you're doing it is wrong. I'm just saying this is the way that works for us. And if you decide it doesn't work for you and you want to go back to the way you're doing it before, as long as you're here and you're working out, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like what I care about is that you are inside the walls, you are spending an hour on yourself, you are elevating your heart rate, you are getting a good sweat on and getting a nice hit of endorphins by the end of it. The semantics of it doesn't really matter that much. If we've got burpees programmed in a workout and our version of the burpee is a chest and bars to the floor, and you want to do the more Les Mills style, I don't know if I can say that copyrighted, but the more low bridging style burpee where it's like you just jump the feet in and jumping back out, we're going to achieve the same thing. So I think just this, like, there's a real sort of Puritan approach to fitness, whereas the way we do things is the right way and doing things that everything else is wrong. And I think if that was the case, like, gyms have been around for a few hundred years in some capacity. If there was one right way to do it, we'd all be doing it that way. So I think understanding that, like you said, like going back to a something like a World's gym where there are nothing but machine weights and table weights and Smith machines and stuff, they have so much value in a space, even something like this where it's not necessarily like it's not practical in a group fitness setup. It doesn't mean that the movements and the things that they allow you to do must do properly. I was raised in as I said, a CrossFit setting where it's all compound movements, and it's like, what's wrong with a bicep curl? What's wrong with isolating a muscle and using, like, spending some time on attention, getting stronger? If it's then going to be like applicable to the more compound movements down the track. So I think everyone has a bit of a narrow focus when it comes to fitness. And it's like, I think what this industry needs is to just kind of broaden that focus a little and understand that there are so many different ways to achieve what we want to achieve.
And the right way is the one that works, the one that person is going to stick to.
Thank you. No?
Done.
That was sick. Thanks, bro.
Thanks for coming.
See you in 2 weeks.
Always.
Peace.